The story today is shared by an anonymous netizen and is quite interesting. There was a person in their local area who acted very foolishly before the age of 20. How foolish? For example, when the wind was favorable, he would defecate, and when the wind was against him, he would urinate. In winter, his family gave him a pair of cotton trousers, and he even wanted to cut the crotch open because it would be more convenient for going to the bathroom. He would also walk barefoot on the ice in winter, pick up donkey dung balls or horse dung and eat them. These descriptions are all the netizen's original words, and I haven't changed a single word. But such a person suddenly became normal at the age of 20. Not only did he stop being foolish, but he became very smart, even able to predict things with astonishing accuracy. His family, seeing that he was well, wanted to find him a wife, but he insisted on marrying the female fool from the neighboring village. How foolish was this female fool? If no one reminded her, she would defecate and urinate anywhere. But the family said that she would be fine after getting married, and they didn't have a better idea, so they agreed. As a result, after the female fool entered the house, she really became very good. Although it is obvious at a glance that she is different from normal people, she can cook and clean the house, and although her speech is a bit unclear, she can communicate. The netizen knows about this person because his father committed a minor offense at the age of 22 and wanted to run away at that time, but he didn't know where to go. There were no relatives or friends outside. The netizen's second aunt went out to find that person to calculate and ask for advice. The netizen's father had no choice at the time, thinking about going to see, and went. That person lived in a small thatched cottage with 3 rooms, and when he entered the house, he saw some simple furniture on the counter. At that time, he was eating sorghum rice and mashed potatoes with his daughter-in-law, and when eating, his big nose mucus flowed into the bowl, and he wiped it directly with the sleeve of his cotton jacket. When the netizen's father saw this scene, his sleeve was as clean as a mirror, reflecting people. He was shocked at the time and wanted to say whether this person was talking nonsense, but he was embarrassed to say it directly, so he said, "Let's go first, and others are eating." Just about to leave, that person said, "Do you look down on me?" Then he asked many questions in one breath, such as why fighting, how many people participated, what the appearance of hitting people was, when to fight, and so on. At this time, the netizen's father was shocked and almost in tears, asking that person for some advice. That person said, 300 miles away, you can settle down anywhere, and after a few years, your criminal record can be eliminated. His father heard this and decided to go. "I'm not familiar with life, what should I do?" "Do the old business." "What about the industrial and commercial tax?" That person smiled and said that if you find someone with the surname Zhang, that is your noble person. Later, the netizen's father went to Daking. Later, as that person said, he found a noble person with the surname Zhang, who helped him sort out the hotel and stall. Later, his father made a lot of money in Daking. Later, I heard that the criminal record really disappeared in 2006. I have to say that that person really has some skills. We later called him a gentleman. Mr. Wang, who is related to the netizen, was when the netizen was 4 years old. One day, this netizen suddenly got sick, had a cold and fever, and was delirious. He cried at night and was taken to the hospital. He was given countless injections, all of which were said to be a cold, nothing else, but it was not good. Because there were too many injections, there were needle marks all over his buttocks, so there was no place to inject again. This netizen could only recuperate at home every day, taken care of by his younger sister. One day, this netizen suddenly fainted, and in his sister's words, he just took a breath. This sister quickly called the netizen's father. When his father came back, his tears fell, thinking that this netizen would die. Suddenly, he reacted and said that the situation was a bit evil, so he quickly called his husband. The netizen was born in 1999, and his grandfather died in 1998. This gentleman picked up the phone and said with a smile that it was okay, it was just that the old man had never seen the child come back and missed his grandson. He asked to put the phone to the child's ear, and he blew 2 breaths to the netizen, saying it was okay, don't worry. That night, this netizen never cried again, and the next day he could play on the ground. Of course, this matter is also what the netizen heard his father tell his sister. This child has never thought so, and he thinks that this matter may be the effect of psychological suggestion. So until before the college entrance examination, the netizen's father took the netizen to find this gentleman again. When he went, the gentleman asked the netizen to buy a deck of playing cards by himself. After arriving, the gentleman asked the netizen to shuffle the cards 3 times. After shuffling, the gentleman quickly touched the cards with his hands, and the cards were all facing down, and a few cards fell after touching a few times. After turning over to have a look, it was the hook circle K, 12 2 kings plus 1 card. Then this gentleman stared at the netizen and said, "Nephew, are you convinced?" The netizens were all shocked because he had never told anyone, and he didn't believe in these things. As for the poker, the netizen thought that practice makes perfect, and magicians can also do it, so he nodded and smiled. Then the gentleman continued to calculate, put the remaining poker cards one by one, and the words written on the paper were very neat, smooth, and rhymed. At this time, the netizen's father asked, "What has my son learned?" This gentleman looked up at the netizen and said, "The first thing is to learn about computers." The netizen asked, "Should I learn traditional Chinese medicine or Western medicine?" The gentleman replied, "Learn traditional Chinese medicine." At that time, the netizen thought, traditional Chinese medicine can only make money when it is in the 50s or 60s, who will make money then? That is to say, can I learn Western medicine at that time? This gentleman saw the netizen's hesitant appearance, took all the poker cards, and gave them to the netizen, asking him to shuffle them 3 times by himself. Then, with his back to the netizen, he let the netizen draw a card by himself, saying that if you draw 4, you will learn traditional Chinese medicine, and if you draw 6, you will learn Western medicine. When the netizen heard so many cards, he didn't believe it would be 4 or 6. As a result, they casually flipped a spade 4, and the netizens were directly stunned. Then the netizen asked, "Can I get into college with my grades?" because he has been at the bottom level for 3 years in high school. The gentleman said, "If you take the traditional Chinese medicine college entrance examination, you can get in from now on without playing all day." Here to share that story, I really want to scold myself. It is really going to the treasure mountain with empty hands. Because that time, he completely obeyed. After playing, he really didn't study anymore until the college entrance examination. When taking the exam, he chose the options that looked about right. As a result, he scored much higher than usual that year. And just that year, their university admission score line was particularly low, and when applying for the Chinese department, he scored 2 points more than the line. It can only be said that the world is full of wonders. Well, see you next story.